The views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
And hello and welcome to Open, the one and only show that opens the Bronx and the rest of the world right to you. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, and today we're going to update you on what's happening in and around our borough. Coming up on today's show, we'll update you on the latest in the world of politics. Then, suicide rates have been rising. This being reported by the CDC. The death of, fashion designer Kate Spade and celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain has brought again the attention to the national topic. Today we'll discuss a topic of prevention and the resources we'll tell you a little bit later more in the show. Afterwards, youth from the South Bronx have partnered up with Nycha and Synchro Pro Film crew to document the work that they've done in their short film, Stand Strong, Make Change. We'll tell you more about this. And then significant projects are on the way in the Bronx that'll energize the neighborhood known as the Hub in Melrose. BronxNet is holding their media training workshops also in July. We're going to discuss this a little later on in the show. And then the 10th annual Fair at the Square is happening this weekend at Westchester Square. So stay tuned for much more because all this is heading your way. Right now, we're officially open. And hello, everyone. I'm your host, Daren Jaime, and today is Wednesday, June 13th, 2018, and you're watching Open, a live program bringing the Bronx and New York City straight to your TV set. We want to welcome also our viewers on Manhattan Neighborhood Network, as Open is now being broadcast live simultaneously on MNN's channel. And we also encourage you to stay connected to us, and you can find out more about us at Twitter at BronxNet TV and Facebook at Open BronxNet Television. Well, lots been going on throughout this past week. We'll take you now to some Bronx updates. A former World War II veteran is being remembered as an East Bronx community gathers to pay tribute. Second Lieutenant John Seckel and his crew members were accosted by townspeople as they were crossing railroad tracks in transit to a prison camp after being shot down on August 24, 1944, while on a bombing run inside of Germany. East Bronx History Forum President Richard Vidacco believes that the proposal of actually renaming the street is the least the community can do to honor a hero like Seckel. Well, in other news, the 10th annual Fair at the Square is set for this coming Saturday. The 4-block multicultural festival will feature 200 vendors and a variety of activities geared for the whole family. The events will include a day-long series. The free event, presented by the Westchester Square Business Improvement District and Image Marketing, promotes Westchester Square's diverse and thriving community. Now, the community is invited to come out 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. rain or shine along East Tremont and Lane Avenues between Westchester Avenue and Silver Street. Well, the Northeast Bronx Community Farmers Market held its grand opening outside Preston High School on Church Avenue. The group running the market is called the Northeast Bronx Community Farmers Market Project. Its founders are all part of the community-supported agricultural group in Locust Point, making them no strangers to the neighborhood or the fresh fruit community. The market will continue every Tuesday until November from 4 to 7 and will feature products, fresh produce, entertainment, and wellness courses by local and regional vendors. For more information on the Northeast Bronx Community Farmers Market Project, visit their Facebook page at facebook.com Northeast Bronx Community Farmers Market. Well, for the past 8 years, the Bronx Academy of Arts and Dance has marked LGBTQ Pride Month by presenting the Bronx's longest consistent gay pride celebration, the Out Like That Festival. Well, the festival runs June 8th through June 26th, and most events are centered at Body's home at 2474 Westchester Avenue, with some other events in other Bronx venues. Now, for more information, you can visit www.baadbronx.org. Well, we're taking a quick break, but we'll have more open right after this.
And I can't change, even if I try. Even if I wanted to, my love, she keeps me warm. 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 She keeps me warm.
We are neighbors and best friends.
I love my sister.
My heart doesn't see race. Love is love.
Our family is no less than any other family.
Love is kind. Love is patient.
And we're back here on Open. President Donald Trump and North Korean leader Kim Jong-un held a historic meeting in Singapore talking about this and more. We're here with our political experts, Lee Bynes. We welcome back our brother, J.C. Polanco. Good to have you back.
Hey, thanks for having me back.
Hey, listen, let's talk about this here. First of all, historic summit. What are we to make of this? I'll start with J.C. We didn't see him in a long time. I know you got a lot to say, but tell us a little bit about this here. Your thoughts on this summit, and first of all, a summit that some people feel should never have happened.
Well, look, the reality is that there's a lot of hypocrisy in politics, and it's one of those things that angers us moderates and guys that want to stand on principle. I know that we're more safe when we discuss instead of fight. I think it's when we speak and talk about our differences and come up with a solution. It's always better than tweeting about launching nuclear missiles at each other and whose button is bigger. So I think it's a good thing that we sat down and had a conversation. The problem is that I feel as if we're not principled in that when President Obama sat and created a deal with Iran to deal with that nuclear issue, my team went berserk and went crazy about the fact that President Obama had actually done that and actually met with conditions to make sure that Iran no longer possessed nuclear weapons. And I think that the Democrats were very happy, the Republicans were very upset. Now, it turns out that President Trump is meeting with North Korea, a brutal dictator. And although it was a good thing for that to have happened, the Democrats are not too fond of the idea of him having met with North Korea, and the Republicans are ecstatic about it. So the question is, at what point do we become principled citizens and say it's a good thing for Iran and North Korea to be on some sort of program where they no longer have nuclear weapon capabilities? So I think it was a good deed.
You know what, to broaden the argument just a bit, the United States really didn't get anything out of this. It was pretty much a really, really good photo op for the president, but it was even a bigger photo op for Kim Jong-un. Basically speaking, if you really think about it, the only thing that happened out of the whole thing was they went back to a recommendation that the Russians and the Chinese had put forth about 6 to 8 months ago. It was a freeze. Basically what they were saying is that if the United States would freeze their activities with regards to the war games or as the president mentioned it, and then Kim Jong-un would cool it on the missile testing and nuclear bomb testing, then they can have an opportunity to sit down and talk. That's exactly what happened. Nothing more, nothing less. The United States actually acquiesced and said we're not going to proceed with any more of these provocative war exercises with the South and with Japan. And Kim Jong-un essentially didn't really give up much. When I took a look at the document that they signed, it wasn't an agreement. It was pretty much just...
Lee, but let's be honest. I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you, but just think about this. Just a few months ago, we were talking about having missiles pointed at Guam and having missiles that could reach Chicago. I mean, that kind of talk and rhetoric is no longer happening either on Twitter or through North Korea's state media. I think it's a good thing when people in Chicago don't have to be in fear. People in Hawaii no longer have to worry about it. Guam doesn't have to worry about having missiles showered on them. I think that's a good thing. So all I'm saying is it's not perfect, but it's much better than where we were last year. I remember us getting into this before.
I would agree with you, but again, it comes down to the fact that this was no more than a show, because for number one, Donald Trump did not necessarily, and his sanctions did not necessarily bring North Korea to the table to talk. North Korea came to the table to talk because they were prepared to talk. They had already reached all of their goals with regard to their nuclear weapons. They were well prepared to sit down and speak with the United States as equals. So I'm not saying that it was a bad idea for them to talk, but it wasn't Donald Trump's idea. It was, to be absolutely honest with you, it was Moon Jae-in, the president of South Korea, who brought these two entities
Let me go from North Korea to Canada and cut in here for a minute. President reaching a lot of controversy with his comments that he made in regards to Trudeau. What are we to make now with the latest with Trudeau?
I have no idea what's going on anymore, to be honest. I haven't known actually since June 16th of 2015, when President Trump announced his campaign for president, you remember. I have no idea what to say. The Justin Trudeau in Canada are a friend of ours. You know, this idea that Canada is charging large tariffs to our dairy farmers, maybe one of the reasons why President Trump has taken upon himself to represent the interests of those that make up his bloc and support dairy farmers. But I highly doubt that's what's going on. I don't think that what he's doing with Canada and our allies makes any sense, especially to free market Republicans. It's counterintuitive. So I really can't even explain what's happening here. How you can blast Trudeau but say how talented Kim Jong-un is. I mean, he has to stop doing this because it's sending the wrong message.
Well, I would have to say that I do know what's going on. Prior to the president leaving to go on his trip to Singapore, he was pretty much a shill for Russia. He was actually inviting Russia back to the G7 as the G8. The reason why the Russians were kicked out of the G8 was because of what he did in Crimea back in 2014. Russia has been in the background doing everything that they can to undermine U.S. policies, both domestically and internationally. He's been interfering with the U.S. election in 2016. There's every reason to believe that he's going to be doing the same thing in the future. What Russia or Vladimir Putin's mission is to disrupt the United States base of allies, and that's what Donald Trump is actually doing.
That would
He's
be
going
real
after.
sinister.
Could you just wait a moment?
But we could have a conversation. It's not a monologue. We could both have a conversation.
Well,
Lee. I'm just saying that would be really nefarious. You may be right, but to think that look, I'm not a fan of this guy, but to think that he's out there plotting to end our Western alliances with Putin, I think it may be a little too far of a stretch. Don't you think? I mean,
no, not at all.
You think this
not
is
at all.
actually
I don't
happening?
think.
That's pretty interesting.
I'm watching the fact that no matter what Vladimir Putin has done to date so far, the president has yet to say one negative thing about him whatsoever.
I'm not defending
He is
Putin.
He's going after NATO. He's trying to break up the NATO alliance. He's trying to break up the alliance between the G7. He's trying to break up the European Union. These are all of the things that Donald Trump, believe it or not, is all in agreement with Vladimir
Let me ask
Putin.
this question here. So since you met with North Korean president, how does this play out in the mind of voters? I mean, when you go to the voting booth and you hear and you see, here he is, he's met with Kim Jong-un, does it make any bit of a difference to those people who are voting come next election, or even with midterms around the corner?
No, I think right now, sadly, as President Trump is concerned, I think he has a lock on the Electoral College vote. I think he does, and I think, Lee, when you look at the map, I think that's pretty fair to say. I think he'll lose the popular vote every time he runs. I mean,
Lee hasn't agreed yet.
But I know he does. I know he does, and I know you do too. The fact of the matter is that this makes him look good, and quite frankly, there's nothing that President Trump can do or say that will upset his base and his supporters. Nothing. There's absolutely nothing. I mean, they'll defend him to the death, and no matter what happens from now on, I think that you're going to have people supporting him no matter what. And this photo op and him bringing world peace is what it looks like, makes him look that much better to his base.
Well, as far as him bringing world peace, that in and of itself is a stretch. But I will agree with you with regards to his base. And that's one of the reasons why he does stand a chance of not necessarily losing that many House seats coming in the 2018 election, because I believe it was Corker came out just yesterday and said that, with regards to the trade issues and things like that, and he actually said that that Republicans are afraid of him. Because Donald Trump, believe it or not, he may only have between 39 and 42%, broadly speaking, but amongst the Republican base, he's carrying about 86 to 91% of those folks.
And those are the guys that vote.
Republicans do not want to get on the bad side of him, especially what happened to Mark Sanford last night. 3 hours before the end of the election, Donald Trump started tweeting, "That man lost," and this is a Republican who had never lost an election before.
Lee's right.
So
Lee's
when you really
right
think about
that.
what's going
I'm
on,
walking on eggshells just sitting here every time you mention the president's name. I'm very careful on what I say. I don't want to lose any more friends. But let me tell you, it's a serious thing. The Republican Party, as we knew it once, no longer exists. This is President Trump's party. And you have a few guys like me trying to bring back that old Republican Party. We may be delusional, but it's becoming abundantly clear from yesterday's election results with Mark Sanford that this is President Trump's party. And it's going to be like this for a while unless the old Republican Party gets some traction, and it's becoming less and less likely.
Yeah. The only thing that would change my mind based upon what he said and what I actually said myself is that the Democrats don't have a message, a unified message themselves. They do not have a leader out front. There's a few people out there trying to make a name for themselves, but essentially the Democrats are out there in the woods. They're having their own civil war on their side of the aisle as well, and unless they can actually unify, Donald Trump can slip through.
All right. Well, before we wrap up this segment, I want to talk to JC real quickly while I got you here, talk about the breaking news coming out of the New York City Housing Authority. First, bring our viewers up to speed and give us your reaction.
Look, the Department of Investigation, the week after the election, unleashes a scathing report about how Nycha has been lying to its residents about lead testing and mold testing. And just a couple of days ago, on Monday morning, the Nycha and the city came to a settlement with the feds for a $2 billion settlement to deal with the shortcomings in Nycha. The issue is this: when did the city know that Nycha was falsifying lead and mold tests affecting the lives of over 400,000 people living in Nycha housing? When did they know? What did they know? Because the Department of Investigation unleashing the report the week after the election is very suspect. I strongly believe, and many others do, that the mayor and the city were well aware of the corruption that was happening in Nycha before the election, and they kept it under wraps until after the election as to not upset the election results. I mean, for DOI, the Department of Investigation, to come up with a report immediately after the election tells me that they knew the results of that investigation and they knew the results of that corruption before Election Day. So they played politics with the lives of people that live in Nycha housing, and that's a real shame. So now what is the mayor saying? He says this is a good time for us to reevaluate things. It's almost as if the guy who was caught cheating on his spouse says now it may be a good time to go to counseling. Let me tell you, now is the time for divorce, and you're going to pay up. And I think the mayor should pay up for this one.
All right, we're going to bring you back. We'll have to talk a little bit more about that one in depth. It affects so many people here in our borough and also in Manhattan, as we're welcoming our viewers who are now watching us on the MNN channel, telling you about the Nycha controversy. Of course, stay tuned to us here at Open. We'll bring more guests in, and we'll have JC back, of course, if he wants. And come on back, share with us, Lee. Come on back if you want to. We'll do it again.
It's always a pleasure.
Good to have you both, all right?
Thank you. Have a great day.
All right, listen, stay with us. We got more show coming on back after this.
How can I help my daughter with her reading?
Searching for help with Dachshund reading.
No.
Let me try.
Sarah's bright, but when she's reading, she has trouble sounding out words.
Playing world music.
What? I give up.
Wait, I was trying to show you how Sarah feels every day. Frustrating, isn't it? Redirecting to understood.org.
Join parents and experts at understood.org, a free online resource about learning and attention issues to help your child thrive.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant.
It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.
For all the papas out there, let's stop what we're doing and take a moment. A moment to be with our kids. They can be loud moments, goofy moments, sporty moments, dorky moments, kooky moments. Moments where we talk or walk or just hang out. It doesn't really matter. They all count because every time dads take a moment to be with their kids, well, it's pretty momentous. So let's all take a moment to make a moment today.
I guess sometimes things just happen. Devastating things. Your whole world changes in an instant. That's what happened to me the day my mother had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
And welcome back. On average, 123 people commit suicide every day. For each one of them, there are 25 attempts. This number reported by the CDC. Today, we have experts on the topic to tell us a little bit more about it. But also joining us on the phone is State Senator Louis Sepulveda, who joins us now, and he shares a little bit with us about the issue of suicide. And Senator Sepulveda, good to have you.
Thank you, as always, to be on your show, Daren. Hope you're doing well.
Oh, doing well, doing well. Listen, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about this here because, first of all, it's a matter that deals close to home for you, particularly with your mother. Share with us a little bit about it.
Well, yeah, I mean, when I was about 10 and a half years old, my mother suffered from depression, committed suicide when I was about 10, and really didn't deal with it much until I was much older in life and, you know, upfront witnessed the collateral damage that happens to families that lose family members to suicide. It's a tragedy. It's long-lasting, especially when you have young children. Fortunately, I was able to overcome it, but there are many people who, many families who still deal with that years later.
Yeah. And our condolences to you. Give me a little bit about, you talk about collateral damage, and obviously when we hear about the death of like Kate Spade, we hear the death of Anthony Bourdain, people that, you know, on one side look like they have it going on, but then all of a sudden we find out there's a problem.
Well, yeah, I mean, the issue of suicide impacts every particular strata in life, every particular wealth class, every particular educational field, it's really an issue of mental illness. People are suffering from mental illness, and unfortunately, they don't get diagnosed. You know, they still have the issue with stigma. Generally speaking, children start to manifest issues of mental illness about 8, but don't get treatment for about 10 years. So for a long period of time, things that can help us overcome and lead to things like suicide aren't treated till very later on. But it's a very serious issue. If you look in communities of color, for example, of young Latinas ages 11 to 19, suicide is the second biggest cause of death. You have high numbers of young African-American boys, who are also, the numbers are creeping in a way that's I consider an epidemic. Now, we don't treat it. Essentially, the issue hasn't come to the forefront as much as till recently when you have these high-profile celebrities and individuals who commit suicide. But certainly, we've been trying to tackle this now, at least since I got elected in the Assembly, and there's some good groups that have been working on it. But it's a real serious issue.
Yeah, can you talk to us a little bit about what New York is doing? Because I know the governor has recently come out saying that he wants to go front and center with this, dealing with the issue of suicide and creating some committees and putting some things forward so that way New York State can kind of deal with this issue.
Well, I mean, it's one thing is a budgetary issue. When you talk about mental illness itself, how much funds are allocated statewide for for this issue, for treatment. And, I had a meeting with the governor a couple months ago where I told him that I thought it was woefully inadequate, the amount of money to tackle the issue of mental illness. And, he took note. Myself and other colleagues that are working through legislation and budgets to increase the funding. There's some good people that have been working. There's a woman by the name of Dr. Rosa Gill, who has a program called Life is Precious. And the mayor helped us allocate some money for that. And the Assembly Speaker, Colonel Hashley, helped us allocate about $500,000 for this program. And it basically deals with teen suicide. So we have the mayor, the governor, individual not-for-profit organizations that have taken this head on and are dealing with it. But it all ends and begins, at least a success, with the amount of funding that we get.
I want to ask you, as we wrap up, as now a state senator and you're a person that's actually risen the ranks professionally, how do you still cope and deal with this issue? Because obviously it has to come back and it plays out every time you hear about someone else who commits suicide.
I was, it's a difficult topic even now that I'm 54 years old. And unfortunately, I didn't get any therapy. I didn't go to a doctor. Or a therapist or psychiatrist or otherwise. I just dealt with it myself. And as I got older, I educated myself. But it's certainly very difficult. Every time you hear the word, it brings back memories. When you hear about young people, or even people like Anthony Bourdain, you think about that. The pain always surfaces, but after years of dealing with it, you learn to deal with it and control it.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, State Senator Louis Sepulveda, joining us here on the set, talking about suicide. And, of course, we're going to continue this conversation. Thanks so much, Senator Sepulveda.
Thank you so much.
All
great
right.
program. Always good to speak to you.
Hey, thanks. Glad to have you. And listen, now joining us right here in studio is therapist Luis Lopez, who deals and talks about that issue of suicide. Thank you so much, Dr. Lopez, for being with us.
Thank you for having me, Daren. It's a pleasure.
Listen, when we talked with the state senator, he said something that was kind of ironic. He said when it comes to the issue of suicide himself, his mother commits suicide. He himself, to this day, never has actually sought counseling himself to actually deal with it. And you think about that, and you think about, wow, something so tragic, and yet and still there are a lot of people who walk around as part of what we say the collateral damage and really don't do anything to help themselves.
Unfortunately, that does happen a lot. I'm sure there's a lot of reasons why individuals choose not to go to counseling. Me, on the other hand, I strongly believe that in the counseling profession, I think that's a very good tool to help individuals process certain traumas and things that happen in their lives. And I hope that anyone who goes through something that tragic can actually reach out to someone for help.
Yeah, well, let's talk a little bit about this, because we were taken aback last week when first with Kate Spade and then Anthony Bourdain. A short time ago, two major celebrities, the world definitely looks at them through a certain lens, and for many people, never seeing it coming. And that happens to be the case a lot of times with people who commit suicide. What are the warning signs that maybe we're missing here?
That's a good question. There's usually a behavior that changes in a person that lets you know that something's happening. Someone who's actively engaged in certain activities and all of a sudden now they're isolating, they're withdrawing, they're doing certain things. It's typically an indicator that something is wrong and that person may be in need of help.
I want to take a look at some statistics that are going to be coming to the screen right now that gives you an understanding about suicide and how the numbers continue to rise. And we're going to throw that up so that way you get an opportunity to see it. And then we're going to ask Dr. Lopez to share a little bit with us here about it. But there you see the numbers that are actually rising. And suicides in America, 45,000 since 2016. Died without no mental condition. If you see the numbers now in dark blue, they reflect people who died with no without a known medical condition, and that number continues to increase by 38 to 58%. And so when we look here, and we're seeing some of the states, and actually they're actually up getting close towards the Midwest and moving towards the West. What can we make of this? It's
alarming. These numbers, these statistics are alarming. And according to the same study, it says that more than half of the people who have committed suicide do not have a mental health condition, as you just indicated. It's typically related to life stressors like loss of job, issues with renting, issues with money, other problems that the person or individual is not able to cope with. And possibly because they may have a fear to seek help, they don't know how to deal with this and figure that maybe ending their life or being hopeless is the way that they can deal with a situation, which is absolutely tragic. I think there's a lot of help for individuals out there. It's just a question of reaching out and getting in contact with somebody.
Well, we talk about in communities of color, there's always this stigma about therapy. And unfortunately, a lot of people will not come across your doors because it feels like there's, you know, a stigma that's associated. Talk to people out there who may be watching and saying, listen, you need to talk to somebody. I just had a conversation with a group of people yesterday, and I said to them, I said, you know, talking is good.
Absolutely, I agree. Talking is absolutely good. Unfortunately, there is a stigma. I don't know why individuals feel that if you speak to a professional is an indication of who you are or an indication that you're weak. I think on the contrary, I think that, you know, the saying two heads are better than one. I think this principle would apply when it comes to therapy. An individual may come to a session to speak to a professional with a particular problem and may not understand how to deal with it, but then the professional who actually trained for this can have a suggestion that can help the person deal with whatever stressor they're dealing with. So I personally believe that seeking therapy or seeking a professional or counseling for any particular life stressor is definitely a positive, it's definitely a plus, it's something that should be taken advantage of.
Well, people who are my generation, a little bit older, we grew up in that household that said, listen, what goes on in the house stays in the house, right? And so you keep it to yourself. And unfortunately, we find that a lot of people walk around and carry this stuff with them until they reach a breaking point. But talk to us about what are some of the things that can be done that could possibly prevent things such as this happen. I mean, when you look at these two people who are high profile, the question that rings out, what could have been done to prevent this? What?
Absolutely, absolutely. Some of the things that individuals can do if you feel that you are struggling with certain stressor, there are hotlines that you can call, the National Suicide Hotline. There's some websites you can visit. I believe the CDC has launched a website called BeTheFirst2.com where it shows you and talks about certain techniques and certain ways that you can help individuals. And you know, if you're a student, you can speak to your guidance counselor. If you're an adult, I'm sure there's several behavior clinics around your neighborhood that you can stop by. Or even speak, if you're a religious individual, maybe speak to your pastor or your religious leader for support. So there's plenty of things that can be done. You can even call 311 and they can guide you to different venues that can give you support for whatever stress or situation you're dealing with.
All right, well, Dr. Luis Lopez, thank you for giving us a little more clarity in it. Hopefully people will take advantage, as you said, and thank you for sharing with us. I want to tell you also, for our viewers who are watching, we encourage you, go to the CDC website. There's also a suicide prevention number that you can also call anytime that you suspect someone that could possibly be wanting to hurt themselves, or if you're a family member that's connected to somebody, you need some much needed information, go to that suicide hotline, reach out, make the call, and you never know, you might just be able to save a life. Thank you, Dr. Lopez, for joining us. Of course, we're going to have more shows. Stay with us. We'll come right back right after this.
Cheru has no choice. She and millions like her walk miles a day for dirty water. But together, we can end their walk by providing clean water close by. Instead of spending hours walking to get water that makes them sick, girls can be in a classroom and moms will gain back time to care for their families. Sons and daughters can grow up strong, finally free of sicknesses. It's true. When you just add water, you change a life. Learn more at worldvision.org.
I'm only 17, but I know about investing. Believe in something, buy shares in it, watch it grow. So, what if you could invest in the future? The future of kids, like a stock. Not the kind of stock that's about making money, but a stock for social change. A whole new kind of investment called Better Futures. When you invest, it helps kids go to college. I could be one of the first college graduates from my family, the first philanthropist from my neighborhood. And if I'm the first, then maybe there's a second and a third. Believe in us, invest in us, watch us grow. My name is Sydney, and I'm your dividend.
And welcome back. Well, youth from the South Bronx has partnered up with Nycha and Synchro Pro Film Crew, documenting the work that they have done in their short film, Stand Strong to Make Change. And here to tell us a little bit more about it is David Soto and Carmen who's actually community coordinators at Nycha, Brianna Gutierrez and Atiba Smar from the South Bronx Youth Leadership Council. And we welcome them all today to the show, and good to have you.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk about this here, because in the community, there's a lot that we have to deal with in terms of violence. And I know you guys wanted to tackle this. Yeah. So talk to us a little bit about what was behind the making of this.
I mean, just yesterday I saw on the news young people attacking a bus driver. I don't know if you saw that on the news. These types of situations are what our young people have concerns with. So we had some conversations with them back in 2016. And they talked about safety being the concern and anti-violence being the campaign. So under the umbrella of the anti-violence campaign, we've done everything from greening days, events throughout the community, and we thought we'd document the process, hence Stand Strong, Make Change, the film.
Atiba, tell us a little about the film.
Okay, so the film that we created was basically about what goes on in our community and whether or not we feel safe or not. And just the insight of basically what goes on in the teen mind when they're living in a Nycha, New York City environment.
And Brianna, what do you want people to take away from the film after they watch it?
A big takeaway is that, although we may live under these circumstances, everybody could come together, and if we stand strong, there is ways that this could be better. Everybody's mindset is completely different. And if nobody comes together, there's no real communication. With communication, we can all host more events. It could be more unity. And that's just what the whole documentary is about, coming together to stand strong and make change.
And Carmen, obviously a great partnership between both you guys and the youth. And talk to me about what it feels like being able to address this issue that really is going on, not just in the South Bronx, Manhattan, the 5 boroughs, and literally across our country.
Not to sound too cliche, but it's very much an opportunity to experience hope again, to really watch the young people go through that year as you see in the film, the changes that are actually happening amongst the South Bronx Youth Leadership Council themselves is pretty profound, and it's impactful. And we're hoping that the young people featured in the film will attract other young people to inspire them also to make the change throughout the city.
What happens from here after the film? Now the film's been shot, so.
Well, we premiere the film June 15th, this Friday, at Mott Haven Library. So yeah, we're going to premiere the film. I think part of the process is not only filming, but the premiere is bringing in all the partners. It's basically the safety net that have been working with our young people. We get for them to interact, meet each other, network, show our young people that they have adult support in our community. So that's important.
And Atiba, what do you want people? I asked Brianna about the takeaway, but what do you want? What are you hoping that people get out of this?
I'm hoping, not necessarily people. I want teens to understand you can join your community, you can go to the library, you can have events that you can come to. There's safe places, safe havens where you can come, because in the South Bronx, statistics show that there's a lot of violence, even though it is. So we want to get the kids into programs where they don't have to be outside doing things that they're not supposed to, but positive things that's going to help them pursue their futures into whatever they may want to do. And we have shirts to give any of the kids who want to join our program. This is our shirt that we created.
I see a part of it. Okay, together we go strong. Okay,
together we go strong.
That's awesome. And so for kids, I mean, what's the messages you share with youngsters today?
Don't do anything dumb.
Right.
And just always keep your head on the right path. Nowadays, there's so many wrong things that you could do, and it's so easy to do wrong. Just keep a positive mindset, and with that, you'll make it very far.
And as we said, the film, you can check it out this week on Friday, June 15th, and you can have an opportunity to see it. But I want to ask you, how long did it take to do, and what was that like?
Grueling process. First of all, we, no funding.
Right.
So we had to find a partner, thanks to Synchro Pro, who came on board and, gave us the family discount.
Right.
So yeah, it was just, it took about 1.5 years to make, and then the editing process as well. So we had to refund the project. But it's been an amazing, journey with our young people. And I just also want to add that we have youth leadership councils around the city, as Nycha's really been working with our young people, and we want to make sure we keep them engaged and connecting them to resources.
Well, definitely a great partnership, and I want to wish you the best with the film, and hopefully a lot of people will come on out, but most of all have a conversation about, this violence that continues to plague our communities. And thank you so much for coming and sharing with us.
Thanks for having us.
All righty, all righty. Well, listen, we're going to leave them here for a quick second because we're going to have to take a quick break. We're going to change them off. We're going to bring on another guest. We're going to have more open, so stay with us. We're coming right back right after this.
You think getting dumped by text is harsh? Try getting dumped by a tennis ball. My ex-owner drove me out to the woods, yelled fetch, and by the time I brought the ball back, he was gone. Yeah, I was pissed. But the folks at the shelter helped me let go of my anger. I learned coping skills, like taking it to the hole. Boom! Now I'm ready to fetch again. But how about I throw and you run and get it?
Well, significant projects are on the way right here in the borough of the Bronx, energizing the neighborhood known as the Hub in Melrose. And here to tell us more is Kathy Z. I'm not going to give the full last name because I've been messing up a lot today on the show, but she said that she's going to tell us it anyway. She's the president at KZA Realty Group, and Sarah Jones-maturo, president of RM Friedland. And we welcome you both to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Now let's get started. Tell us your last name officially so I can say it.
My name is Kathy Zamechansky.
Zamechansky.
Correct.
There you go. I got it right.
Bronx, a Bronx resident for 47 years.
Is that right?
Correct.
Wow. Okay.
Correct.
So talk to us a little bit about this here.
Oh, so originally I was contacted by the developers of the La Central project because of my relationship with some of the owners. And my relationship in the Bronx over 35 years of real estate experience in commercial real estate. So they wanted a Bronx-based firm. And I met with them, and then when I was brought on board, I felt it was very appropriate for me to bring in Sarah and RM Friedland because of their extensive retail experience, because I'm a boutique kind of firm. And we're in the middle of an affiliation anyway. We're about to become an affiliated firm. And so we thought that she would bring a lot of power and strength to the project. And so that's why we did this merger, and we think it's going to work very well for the project. It is working very well for the project. I have Steve Kaufman from Friedland and Mia Abu from Friedland on my team, and we are working right now on identifying retailers for the project.
So talk to us a little bit about the project and what the project's going to entail.
So it's about, it's actually the largest residential project underway in the hub. And it's about 1,000 units of residential, a 50,000 square foot Y. You guys are going to be there. BronxNet is going to have a state-of-the-art studio there, which you're going to have a ground level studio. So it's sort of like almost like the Today Show. and an additional 20,000 feet of retail. There's also going to be amazing state-of-the-art things like rooftop farms. You're going to have, playscapes. It's really groundbreaking for the borough of the Bronx, I think.
And a lot of people have heard about this, so talk to us about how long, what's the time frame, what's the expectancy here?
Well, first of all, right now they started construction on building A and B, and building D, which is the Commune Life Breaking Ground building, which is the special needs housing building. That's already been under construction for a while, and we're right now working on some kind of community facility use for that particular space. The other two buildings are under construction. They're on Westchester Avenue, Bergen Brook, and 152nd Street. The plan for that is to have a sit-down restaurant in one of the buildings, and to have we're talking to medical users and a state-of-the-art supermarket, kind of greengrocer kind of thing. I guess one of the things that's important for everyone to understand is we, the team, are reaching out to local merchants, vendors, healthcare people before we go out of our community, out of our Bronx, because the goal of the developers is to bring more people from the Bronx into the project to like a restaurant from the Bronx. Right. I can't give you the name, but we're talking to several Bronx restaurants who are interested in putting a sit-down restaurant there. And if you know the Hub at all, there's only been 2 sit-down restaurants in that neighborhood for over 30 years. Yolanda's on 149th and Venice Restaurant on 149th. So we're trying to bring what the community's asking for, a sit-down restaurant. That will be part of the nightscape for the building. And then on the retail side, we're looking at the supermarkets and we're looking at healthcare institutions.
What do you think this will actually do for the borough? Because obviously this borough is filled with a lot of talent, a lot of great things. But before we leave, tell us what do you think this will do for the borough?
Well, I think it's a really exciting time for the Bronx because, Brooklyn's had its time, Queens has had its time. Bronx is really being viewed as the next frontier. So this gives a deal like this gives the Bronx, I think, a tremendous amount of legitimacy. You also have Jet.com putting a huge distribution facility in the Bronx, which gives it additional legitimacy. So it's really like the Bronx is on the rise, and it's almost like a buzzword in real estate right now.
Yeah. Let me add to that. Marshalls and Burlington are going to 3rd Avenue. And for people that are too young, may not remember that Alexander's and 149th Street were a very big shopping district way back. And so the idea is to create that same buzz and that same environment here. But the one thing that's going to be different about this, first of all, this project is more mixed use, more income mixed use. So it's low income to middle income, 120% of AMI. And Bronx residents, the goal is to make sure that Bronx residents, teachers, people from the medical community, people who live in the neighborhood can be in this project.
Well, we certainly want to thank you for coming and sharing with us. We want people to find out more about it. Of course, stay close. You can go to BronxNet.org, find out more about it. Of course, you can check on the website. And thank you both for coming. And we're looking forward to
Thank you very much.
Things as they continue to develop. It's exciting for our borough, and we're glad to be a part of it, too.
We appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty, listen, stay with us. Taking a quick break. We got more. Don't go away. We're coming right back right after this.
Thank you.
Patriotism. It inspires passionate debate. It's worn like a badge of honor with good reason, because it means love and devotion for one's country. But what really makes up this country of ours? It's the people. To love America is to love all Americans. This year, patriotism shouldn't just be about pride of country. It should be about love. Love beyond age, sexuality, disability, race, religion, and other labels. Because love has no labels.
Someone from our house right here at BronxNet, here to talk to you about the media training workshop in July. And here to share a little bit about this today is BronxNet's Director of Media Training, Audrey Duncan. And if you know anything about Audrey, she's a fixture here at BronxNet, and we've known each other for, I don't know, we don't got to tell how many years. But talk to us about this here, because residents have the opportunity actually to participate in production and actually be a part of these workshops.
Yes, all Bronx residents have the opportunity to produce their own program, and the way that we make that possible is that we provide training for them in studio production or field production. So you could be a Bronx resident going about your business, know nothing about television. You come in, you take one of our 8-week classes, and then boom, after that, you're able to produce your own show.
And so there's an 8-week class that most people take, and it can either be field production or studio production. And you got the opportunity to learn what's going on in the field, shooting cameras and stuff like that, as well as studio production. Talk to us about cost, because some people say, oh gosh, how much is it going to cost? And the cost is?
Well, the cost is $100 for the studio production or $110 for the field, but they get a $10 discount if they do a 2-question survey online when they register. And the cost is actually minimal because if they compare a cost anywhere else at any media training center around the city, they'd be paying much, much more.
Yeah.
You know, we set the cost really as a commitment to the class.
That's right. And talk to us, because there's been a great amount of producers who've come through our area, and they've gone on to great careers. Give us a little bit about the alumni and just how effective the course has been.
Well, the courses have been really effective. We, you know, out of the people who have come through the courses, you see many of them, hundreds of them now on our channels. If you look at our BronxNet channels, not the signature channel, but our public access channels, you'll see programs that are actually produced by the people who have taken these classes. And as you said, some of them have chosen it as a profession as well. So there are some who take our classes, and that is actually what has launched them into professional positions in the industry.
So let's talk about dates for the workshop.
Our next cycle starts July 9th, and it runs through September 1st. And registration is actually open now if they go to www.bronxnet.org.
All right, so we want to tell people, make sure, so that you can be a part of the July class, you have to register now. And of course, get connected with us here at BronxNet.org. And Audrey will be glad to get you in a class, whether it is studio, whether it's field. It gives you the opportunity to have hands-on experience and learn in a way that's kind of quick and with some great professionals. And Audrey, thank you for coming and sharing with us.
Thank you, Daren.
All righty. Listen, we got to take a quick break. Still got a little bit more show left, so stay with us. We'll come right back in a few.
Leaving hot coals improperly extinguished can cause a wildfire.
Hey guys, it's Smokey!
It looks as if Smokey is going to use the drown, stir, drown, and feel technique. After the first drown, a good start. Next, another drink. And finally, a close feel.
Is it cool? Okay. Yeah.
Hey, Smokey, catch! Oh, my bad, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
And we are back. Well, guess what? With only a few days left to the biggest festival at Westchester Square, the Fair at the Square brings music, food, entertainment, and a combination that shows the best of the Bronx. And here to tell us a little bit more about it is Yasmin, Cruz, and getting down to the wire here.
Yes.
Yes.
A few more days. It's a big event because it's our 10th year. It started as a 2-block festival, and we expanded it 3 years ago to a half-mile-long festival. So more vendors, more entertainment, more activities for the children, and especially the fact that the kids don't have to pay for any of the inflatables. They just can come in and enjoy all the activities for free.
Talk to us about the businesses and all who actually play a part of this, because it's a phenomenal partnership.
Absolutely. Everyone comes together, and the sponsorships, obviously, with these merchants and everyone that comes together, they create this event. So all the activities are basically sponsored by these merchants. The merchants are able to showcase what they do in the community by showing their products, their services. So it's a great way to kind of involve the community and the merchants, as well as the residents in the area, all as a community event. So it's an amazing event.
How have things changed through the years? Because obviously from year one to now, there's been some great changes.
There has been some great changes. We've done this event for the past 4 years. And even when we came into place, it was basically a block festival. You know, basically people got together, there was some food, vendors, but now we have over 100+ vendors. The entertainment has grown. This year we have Tito Nieves from I Like It Like That, the original I Like It Like That.
The original.
And I think it allows for the community to come out and participate and showcase their talent, because we also have a lot of the community acts, the dances, the singers, they're all from the community.
So give us a little bit about how people can participate. Obviously, it's open to the public.
Yes, it is.
Give them dates and times.
So it is Saturday, June 16, from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We will be having the concert all throughout the day, the food vendors as well, and it's going to go from Lane Avenue in Westchester, Tremont, all the way to Silver Street. So it's a pretty long walk through, but you will get to enjoy everything.
And I understand there's going to be some health and wellness representation there as well.
Yes, and that's the good part about it. There's going to be your health vans helping people. If you need to get your blood pressure checked, this is a great opportunity to do so as well. So the participation from all these different, from the health to the merchants to the community. It's such a great event. I think everyone comes together and enjoys this.
So yes, what does this do for the life of the community?
I mean, I think it brings awareness to the merchants. Some of these merchants are new. We have yoga, Vibrant Awakenings coming into the community. We've had also from the past, there's a saying for Westchester Square, Lisa Soren, who's our executive director, it says, where good history is our present history. And it just brings the old and the new. So we have new businesses such as Vibrant Awakenings, it's a yoga place opening up. And then we've had businesses that's been existing in the area like Metro Optics. So they come together to showcase their products. It's developing the area. Westchester Square has now grown into such a great area where businesses want to be a part of it. So it showcases.
Well, looking forward to this Saturday. Thank you so much. And hopefully we get great weather and the community comes on out and we'll have a wonderful, wonderful time. Tell you this Saturday from 10 to 6, come on out and and celebrate with us. Thanks much.
Thank you.
All righty. Well, listen, I want to let you know, we have come to the end of our show today. I want to thank all of our guests for joining us. Most of all, I want to thank you, the viewer, for now tuning in. Now, if you missed any part of today's show, you can catch the recable cast at 5 and 10 p.m. on Cablevision's Channel 67 in the Bronx, Verizon Files is Channel 33, or you can watch us anytime on the web at BronxNet.org. Once again, want to give a special shout out to all of our viewers who are watching us on the MNN channel, as we are now seeing live on MNN every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on Open. For all of us here on the set of Open, I'm Daren Jaime saying take care. Most of all, keep your heart, your mind, and this channel wide open.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. But it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello, that's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. Behold, the angry giant. It only takes a moment to make a moment. Take time to be a dad today.